Hello everyone and welcome to GIMSOC-Connect. If you do not know what GIMSOC-Connect is, this is GIMSOC's first episode of our podcast series. And what do we aim to do here today? We aim to be a valuable source of all things medicine and the student life. We have our fingers on the pulse of every single thing that you would need to survive as a medical student or even as a future doctor in Georgia and out of Georgia. I will be your host today, and my name is Onyekachi Emmaneul Anyagwa, and joining me is...
My name is Nimish Chawla. I'm in fourth year in Georgia National University, SCU.
Okay, I am Judith Adura. I'm in fourth year medical student at Nimish University.
I'm Princy James. I'm a fourth year medical student in Tbilisi Medical Academy.
So welcome guys to today's episode. How are you guys feeling? Are you guys feeling okay? Are you feeling excited?
Yes, I think I'm quite excited actually.
You know, some of you look nervous and I'm like, yeah, I do understand. Okay, so let's start easy and let's talk about the summer. Princy, how was your summer?
My summer went quite well. I think I had a late summer, but then I was able to travel to India and then come back. It was a really good time. And the time that I spent here as well, it was going to cafes and restaurants. It was really good.
So you just eating food, enjoy the Georgian cuisine. What about you, Joseph?
Well, the summer was, can I first talk about the weather?
Oh, yes.
I mean, the weather is like another episode on its own, but it was pretty hot weather-wise. And I had fun going out with a couple of friends that I not had the time to see the whole, year. So it was good.
As Joseph said, the summer's been harsh here. It's been pretty hot, so I've stayed mostly indoors. But yeah, a visit to the beach, going out of town, going to Batumi or these places. That's how I've spent my summer, just to, unwind, relax, and get prepared for the next upcoming semester.
So for me, the summer, first, this is one of the hottest summers I've experienced here in Georgia. And I couldn't survive going outside. I just want to stay in a place with air condition and a fan and just enjoy myself, take a cold drink or ice cream. Really helped this summer. But now we are resuming. A lot of schools are resuming in September. Some are resuming in October. What are the things that you would say are the necessities for students to bring back with them when they are resuming? What things are vital, or what things can't you do without when you are resuming? Let me see who I would call first. Okay, Joseph.
So I'm a bit of an old-fashioned person, really. So I would say that the pens and the books, especially in these times of, computers, laptops, and iPads, and whatever you have these days, these younger kids use. But it's very important to still have the pen and paper. For me personally, I would say I tend to remember more the things that I write. I would say that it's sort of the same thing for most people, but yeah, you need the pens and the books. But then if you are into the whole iPad situation and the laptops, then you have certain apps that you use. Of course, if you're into it, I can suggest a few. Notability is one of them. Noteful is another one. You could use these apps as well.
I would recommend, if possible, bring a tab, bring your phone, but try to bring a laptop too, because as much as we can max out productivity on a tab, there's a lot more we can do on a laptop. For example, making presentations, Word documents, you can only do so much on a tab or an iPad that you can do a lot more on a laptop. So if possible, I wouldn't recommend you to bring a high-end or a high-tech laptop. Just bring something which will get the job done, which you can leave at home, you come back to it and make use of it for your official work. So I would recommend that if possible, bring a tab as well as a laptop, so that it makes your life easier whenever you're compiling documents, making presentations.
Oh, that's nice. What about you, Princy?
So I completely I feel like a person should have an iPad or a tablet in their bag, because laptops can be pretty heavier. In my case, I do have a pretty heavy laptop. And I feel if you have a tablet or an iPad, it would be good. And because you can take that on the go, and then if you have a lecture or if you're just going to a cafe, you can study, write your notes in this. As you said, there are so many apps for note making. So for me, I use Samsung Notes because I'm an Android user. So I really like using it. Even I do it on my phone. So if you have an electronic stuff with you, a gadget, it would really help you out, in making notes on the go. You can just carry it around in your pocket or in your bag. It's a really good one.
I mean, for me personally, I use my iPad to take my notes. I still do take like jotters around, especially if you are going into like clinical rotations. You might not necessarily want to carry your iPad. You can have like a small jotter or something where you can quickly take down notes during ward rounds or whenever the doctor is speaking. I think something that is also important, sticky notes are amazing, sticky notes. And I think for the people who are just coming in newly, if you can get a whiteboard, I would 100% recommend it. Like getting a whiteboard where you can actually like write down stuff and put reminders there if you want to at all. So which brings me to my next question. How does the technology you use or you do not use in cases of the people who prefer writing, old school writing and reading, how does that technology, how does it affect or how do you integrate that into your study techniques? What study techniques do you use and how are you able to integrate all of these things you have mentioned into studying? I'll start with you.
Yeah, so firstly, I would recommend, as I said, watching videos is a major part of our studying process, that we have so many platforms and study resources available online. But the one thing that I would like to point out while studying is that be consistent with what you study on a daily basis. Whatever you study in your class, revise it daily. I wouldn't say that go and study something extra, but just revise what you have learned in your class. And the next day when you come back to it, and when you learn a new topic, start with the previous topic you revised, so that you are consistent and you have a chronological pattern of studying.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, as much as I prefer the old school way, I also use the iPads, and actually YouTube is a very, very wonderful resource for a lot of people. There's Geeky Medics on YouTube. We have what's his name? Major Nerd. I think he's a legend. Anyway, there are a lot of other channels depending on what course you're having for the semester. So when you go into class is the biggest part of any semester, because when you go to class, you tend to remember things being said, especially when you go back to read the textbooks or watch other videos. And then going through the notes, like he said, because you see, the thing is, when you repeat, studying, when you go over and over again, it sticks, like a couple of things do. And I think for me, what I do is, when I finish a particular topic, I try to see what I can remember from different parts of the topic, or topic, as it were. And then that just helps to see how well I've studied.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Princy?
So basically, I use varied resources. Like it would start from ABOS, which is applied from my university. So we didn't have to purchase anything. We just had to we just had this app, and then we would go through the concepts, and it's concise and it's modified. Like it has high yield topics. It covers it. So for me, it is one. I think the top priority app would be that. And then I would use Sketchy, then for micro it would be Sketchy, and for pharmacology as well, and Pathoma for pathology, and even Ninja Nerd, as you said, was one thing that I thought was really helpful for my cardiology subject.
So guys, all these are GIMSOC recommended tools that they are giving you guys. So for me, I do agree with you. I think it's understanding if you're a visual learner or if you're an auditory learner. So for people who are visual learners, you could use things like Sketchy, you could use things like Pathoma, of the videos, of course. You can use Boards and Beyond videos, you can use Ninja Nerd, you can use Dirty Medicine, Geeky Medics. There are 1,001 videos that you could watch. For auditory learners, you can listen to Goljan podcasts. Also, if you go on Spotify or Apple Music and just type medicine, you would definitely find at least one or two playlists that would give you things you are looking for. And like we said, integrating the apps we use are very, very important. Some of this stuff you can have subscriptions to them. Some of them you might need to get the physical textbooks and things to assist, and that's why we mentioned things like the sticky notes and getting the board. Like he was saying, you need to remember as much as you can. And I think writing out what you have learned or writing out what you have studied on a board or even back into your notes, iPad or paperback, either ways, I think that will help a lot.
Also, I see the Android users ducking when you say you have to pay.
I mean, you can say.
I mean, I think if you're an Android user, like you are safe.
Also, I had another suggestion for the first year students who are coming in the first semester. The one thing I struggled with in my first semester was anatomy, because it's so dense, so deep, with myology, with the nerves, with the bones. Everything was so tough to remember and to cram. So these are these platforms and softwares available online, which you can purchase, or they're free, which has this whole 3D model of the human body.
Yeah.
And you can highlight a particular part of the body, see the anatomy, see the osteology, see the myology of the particular part of the body you're focusing, and in that way it helps you with the audio visual learning of an act.
Yeah, I think the name of the app, I think, is Complete Anatomy by 3D, like Elsevier. Yeah, I think it's a really good app. And but while you were speaking about things that are dense, because we always have like dense topics and all that, one thing I would like to recommend to all of you is Anki flashcards. Flashcards help. I'm not personally a flashcard person, but they helped with spaced repetition and learning stuff, especially things that you need to memorize that are not necessarily conceptual. If there are certain things like biochemistry and anatomy, those things have memorization. It's not basically concepts. So Anki flashcards will also help you with spaced repetition and learning. Which brings me to my next question. I would start with Princy. What do you think about studying before the semester starts? What are your thoughts on that?
So, like when you have subjects like radiology, I think it's good to go through your anatomy knowledge. Like it's really like it would help you out to make a layout, an overview of how, like, where the bone is actually, like, before you get into radiology. Like, and if you have no basics in anatomy, I feel like it would really tough learn.
Yeah, so you think like it's important to kind of at least have a brief idea of what you're doing.
So all the prerequisite subjects that comes with the main subject, it's good to know, like,
the prerequisites. Yeah, but preventing the work to pile up. Like, the more you skip a day, the more the workload piles up. Because I mean, it's medicine. Medicine is very, very extensive. And one thing I will also advise, like, for people like studying during the semester is, especially if you're doing your clinical rotations and all, before you go into the hospital that day, try to study what was taught in the class a day before. Like, try to look at the PowerPoints, the cases, the notes, whatever you can, just to ensure you are prepared for your rotation or your ward rounds on the next day. How would you advise students to study during the exam period, the exam season? Because that's a different ballgame entirely.
In exams, what people mostly forget is that focus on what you're strong at. First of all, check all the points that you have already, all the topics that you're strong in, well, complete them. Then focus on the topics you don't know. Because what people usually do is they start focusing and stressing on the topics they don't know. And what happens is, in the exam, they'll for sure do well in the topics they don't know, but they'll falter in the topics they already know and they're good at, because they take it Kaizen. So this callous attitude that people have with their topics they're confident in, that's what people need to check. First, tick mark what you already know and be concise. Whatever time you have to spread your wings, to study, to gain more knowledge, that time has elapsed. Now in exam time, you need to be concise. Okay. You can't branch out into doing videos
and textbooks and
whatever you have written, whatever notes you have, just focus on that. Sadly, the ball is out of your court. Now you have to deal with the question or your action.
Yeah, but I think like that's very important. I think one thing that helps is during exam, and I also think during the semester, practice questions. Yeah. Like, practice as many questions as you can. Practice cases, especially if you are doing OSCEs in your school. I think we're all from different schools here. If you get to do OSCEs in your school, practice cases during the semester. Do not wait till the end of the semester to practice cases, and do not wait till the end of the semester to practice 1,500 or 2,500 questions. If you do them in bits, maybe during the weekend and all, you'd realize that during exam season, you have gone through all of that. But that leads me to my next question about goals and setting up goals for the semester. How would you set up goals? I would like to start with Princy. Like, what are your goals for the semester, or how do you set up the goals for your semester?
So basically, like, I put into like two different categories, that is short-term goals and long-term goals. So short-term goals would basically include everything from the start of the semester, like the quizzes and everything, and then like midterms and the finals. But then the long-term goals would include after graduating whatever that I should like pursue. Like if I'm gonna pursue USMLE, like the board exams. So I should start. I would be incorporating all the things that I have to prepare for the long-term goals will be incorporated into the short-term goals. So like, practicing questions as Kachi said before. And then like probably like I would keep the short-term goal like for the day, it would be like 50 questions, not 50, like 15 questions. Yeah, because like if you're doing the concept learning, then yeah, it would take more time. So yeah.
That's
Good. Just take a little bit off of what she said. You see, the short-term goals should help to achieve the long-term goals. That way you're working smarter, not necessarily harder. Yeah, and goals are very important, really, at the end of the day, because there's a saying I remember back when I was in high school. It says that if you aim for the sun, if you miss the sun, you definitely get the moon or the stars. What that means is, you see, setting these goals helps to reduce failure. Maybe it mitigates certain failures. So if you, for example, you could say that every week I'm going to read all the courses that I sit in class for, or I'm not going to miss any classes this semester. Now that's a long-term goal.
yeah, over the span of 13, 14.
But the shorter term goals for the semester as the weeks roll by is I'm going to read every topic, every subtopic that we do for the week. Yeah, like she said also, I'm going to answer 15 questions every day. That's like at the very moment. So what happens is when you stick to the goals, you can create a schedule out of these goals, and you can follow the schedules right to the very end of the semester.
Goals are meant for yourself. We are in such a field, or our industry as medicine and as an industry is highly competitive. So what one does is keeping in mind what the other is doing, especially in our student life. If your counterpart is completing these many topics, you try to push yourself that I want to complete more than him, or at least still what he or she has done. But what people forget is know what is your strength, what is your capacity. If the other guy is completing 2 videos in one day and you can complete one, stick to one, so that at least you will assimilate that one video properly rather than just competing with the other person. So what people need to understand is that the goal is for you. So it should be set according to your strength and to your weaknesses. And I personally feel set your goals semester to semester so that you can focus on one semester properly. When it's done, you forget it and move on to
the next semester.
So in that way, because I feel goals shouldn't be too far-fetched, nor should they be nearsighted. So it's in between. So you have a semester, you deal with it, then you move on to the next.
Yeah. And I think like one of the issues we do have is a lot of medical students who are very delusional and very unrealistic with our goals. I think people see a topic and they'll be like, I will use this material and I will use this material, I will use this material. I think part of the things that about goals I think should be important is make sure your goals are well planned. So if you are tackling a particular course, I would suggest, what materials do I want to use for this course? How many materials can I actually cover for this course? Do I want to use videos? Do I want to use textbooks for this course? I think setting it out helps you not to panic when the semester and then you're thinking, oh, I should use this, oh, my friend is using this, maybe I should use that. I think knowing before the semester, asking the seniors questions like, what materials did you use? How did you go about this course? How is this lecturer like? Like all those things will help you set your goals and help you set realistic goals. So there's some courses that you know that, okay, I need to study this amount of hours to get this type of score. And I think also having at the back of your mind or having it written the scores you want before the semester starts. I think it's really amazing, something you can look at consistently, and it serves as self-motivation, for a lack of a better word. It will self-motivate you to do better. If you're slacking behind, you wake up and you look at the scores I want and you're like, I am not studying well enough to achieve these scores, so I need to adjust my goals. And I think on this goals issue, I think one of the things I would like to say is make your goals adjustable. because the semester would pass, so many things would happen, and you need to make these goals adjustable, and they should be adjustable over time to fit the situation and circumstance. We will go on a break right now. Hi everyone, Georgian International Medical Students Society GIMSOC will be hosting our first ever medical conference called MedCon 2023, and our tagline for this conference is Resuscitate. We will be focusing on emergency medicine in every subspecialty that you know and you are interested in. The date for the conference is October 7th and 8th, and it will be taking place at Tbilisi State University, Building 1, Ilia Chachavadze. Watch out for things like amazing speeches, and we'll have amazing conference speakers. Also, we'll be hosting workshops at the end of each day of the conference session. We'll be having stalls with our sponsors where you can speak to them and interact with different medical personnel. You'll get to network with your fellow medical students, faculty, and doctors. And most importantly, we'll also be having an abstract session where students and doctors will be able to present their research work to the general public and to all the attendees of the conference. This is one conference you would not want to miss out on. So run to www.gimsoc.com, submit your abstracts, and be a part of this amazing conference, Resuscitate MedCon 2023. So guys, we've talked about like academic goals and how to like plan for those goals, but what about like physical goals? Like we all know that medicine in its sense is very holistic, so you can't separate like just the academic, how you feel. If you're sick, of course you can't study, and like if you're not doing well mentally, you also cannot study. A hungry man too cannot study. So like there are a lot of factors that go into these things. All right, Princy, please can you tell me how you think like mental health for medical students, how can we factor it into like the goal for the semester or like even for the year?
Thank you. So basically, like mental health depends on the environment that you're in. So if you have a really bad environment where you can't like focus or like, focus on your studies, focus on your peace of mind. Like if you don't have peace of mind, then obviously everything is gonna go down. So it is better like, you make sure that you have a well-set up environment to focus, to be in peace, and at least like practice yoga and, do some meditation, listen to some good podcasts. So it's always important to have a good mental health as well as a good physical health to go in. Like there's a body and mind balance that has to be kept.
Yeah, I also think like going to the gym is also important, or having some sort of physical activity, playing sports, something that gets you into a good routine, like boosts your serotonin and like gives you this type of energy to make you go through what you need to go through. I think physical health, like I said, is very important in ensuring that, and all these things, once you have a steady routine, a steady sleep schedule, a steady workout schedule, or a steady sports schedule, together with like keeping up with your mental health, doing things that make you happy, I think that is balanced. But medical students, our diet is just ramen and vibes. So what would you recommend in terms of ensuring we stay well fed within our means?
Yeah.
By the way,
like how would you? Very important within our means.
Well,
what would you recommend?
See, first of all, as Joseph said, it's so ironic that we as medical professionals or soon to be medical professionals, our own health has gone for a toss. If we go and get a full body workup done, a full body profile, many of our parameters will come on borderline, or they'll be crossing the normal range. Our vitamin levels will be low, our BP will be high, our LDL will be high, HDL will be high. So it's like we need to focus on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I find it so funny that Globo and Gold subscriptions in Georgia are surviving on the basis of us medical students.
Yes.
Yeah. These delivery guys are surviving on us. So what I feel is that we need to cut down on our eating outside, try to focus on what we can do in our means, such as, rather than trying to eat a burger outside, try to make a burger at home, try to eat a sandwich at home, try to focus on salads. And the most important thing that we forget, in summers, we tend to go towards aerated drinks, to fizzy drinks, just to cool ourselves down, when cold water is the best source to quench our thirst. And in winters, we forget to drink water altogether because we don't feel thirsty. But water deprivation is such a big role, dehydration is such an important issue that we need to always have a big bottle of water along with us keep ourselves hydrated.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that when you are resuming and you're coming to medical school, one of the things you should bring
Is a
with
po-
you is
just
just
like
buy
in our
a
previous
water
discussion,
bottle.
yeah, like essentials to bring.
It's an essential.
A big bottle
Yeah,
of water.
just get a big water bottle and you can always fill it with water and all. But I think like food is really, really important. Like what you eat, also what you eat like affects your mood, affects your mental health, affects your physical health too. So I think like diet is really important. If you can meal prep, then meal prep.
Also, erratic hours of eating. Sometimes we don't have lunch at the time of lunch. Sometimes we have our dinner post 12 o'clock midnight.
Most of us have our dinner like what's 12.
So it's like such things which we tend to laugh off are the things that are harming our body than what they're doing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you guys so much for your advice. I'm sure that everyone listening, I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot today. Thank you for taking our time to speak to them as medical students, also who are also going through this journey. I think it's very important as peers that we provide a community where we are able to discuss and communicate this type of issues and this type of topics and prep ourselves for each semester. Thank you to all our listeners for the podcast. Thank you for staying with us. This is just the beginning of what GIMSOC-Connect has to offer you. Stay tuned for our next episode. Check out our website, www.gimsoc.com, for more episodes, for more updates on our events, on our conferences, and on this wonderful podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I feel like a new man. I got a new game plan. Working hard as I can. Oh, I'ma stack them bands. I've been making upgrades, trying to better myself. Gotta start with change if you wanna build wealth. No, I'm gonna get by, I don't gotta sell out. Don't need no clout, it's bad for my health. I feel like a new man.